But I'm very proud to be here. I'm glad to make it for your 26th annual meeting. But the woman you're going to hear about, you know, when I saw the Etzel story and I told Eric, I said it was just totally, to me, fascinating. It is something that I had heard bits and pieces of, but I had never heard it in a delivery such as that. The woman you're going to hear about is the woman that would help me begin to enjoy the ride. First of all, I never dreamed in a million years that I would own those three words. The intellectual properties and also the trademark to those three words, enjoy the ride. I'll give you the story as to how, but I also have to tell you about the woman. The tribute that I pay as I speak on the subject of enjoy the ride is always to my former secretary. Her name was Margaret Shannon. Margaret is no longer with us. Margaret hailed out of San Diego, California. When she passed away, I was asked to speak at her funeral. When I spoke at the funeral, they had a tribute to her at a church. They called it a celebration service to celebrate her life, not her death. Over 800 people would pack a church to pay tribute to Margaret. Now, when I first met her, I didn't like her, not even a little. First of all, I was 34 years old when I got promoted to senior management. Have you ever been around a person in leadership that shouldn't be there? You ever work around anybody negative? Anybody sitting beside somebody negative this morning? You're a fun group. Nobody raised their hand, but there is a guy going like this. Well, Margaret was not my choice for secretary, but she was assigned to me. First of all, I was 34 years old. I was single. I had 2 boys, and I was rising in a large company. Here's the great story of my life. My idea of a secretary was something under the age of 25. Blonde named Buffy. Typing would be optional. They give me Margaret, 61 years old, been in the company 37 years. I will always remember a lunch the Friday before she's arriving in my office on that Monday. She was assigned to me. She was supposed to arrive on a Monday, right? On Friday, I'm having lunch with a very dear friend of mine that worked in the company who's now going to become my subordinate, and he says this. He said, "What do you know about that Margaret?" I said, "I don't really know anything." I said, "I've just heard she's been around a long time." He said, "I can't wait till Monday." I said, "Why?" He said, "She's going to fix your wagon." I said, "We'll see." I was so worked up all weekend, all I could think about was Margaret. What am I going to do? I got to make sure that I posture myself to make sure she understands that I am in senior leadership and I'm now an executive. I go to the receptionist in the building. This is what I say to her the morning that I arrive. Margaret's supposed to be there at 8:30. At about 7:45, I said to the receptionist this. In this tone of voice, I'll always remember, because I was all worked up. I said, "Donna, my secretary arrives this morning." Donna went, "I know." I said, "What's so funny?" She said, "You don't know Margaret." I said, "Why don't you give her a message from me? Why don't you tell Margaret there's a new sheriff in town?" I went to walk away. She said, "Okay, deputy." Now, I watched a lot of you coming in, and you know, and I met Eric, and I met Seth, and I met a lot of people, right? And I watched you come in, and I got to tell you something. I'm a perfectionist. I like things neat. I think the staplers in your offices should be perpendicular to the edge of your desk. This is the kind of person I am. Let me ask you this question. How many of you know a perfectionist, and you're not one? You'd like to slap us, wouldn't you? You come into our offices and you do this while we're not looking. You just can't let it go, can you? I tell you that because I'm a perfectionist, right? That morning, Margaret Shannon would arrive at my office door, and I would say this. "You must be Margaret." She looked at me and she said it this way. She said, "Let me share something with you, Mr. Gilliland. My name is Mrs. Shannon. I would appreciate you addressing me as Mrs. Shannon." You ever had a person try to get your goat? Let me tell you how people get your goat. People will always get your goat if you bring your goat to work. If you don't bring your goat to work, they can't find your goat and do what Margaret did. She found my goat, untied my goat, rode my goat down the hall. And for some of you that aren't getting this, that's a metaphor. I got a couple of people, I can see their faces. Goats, where'd they go? We're a financial group. Well, I said, "Margaret, won't come." I said, "Mrs. Shannon, come on in and sit down." She walks in, moves my stapler, moves my pencil holder, and I'm like... And then she sits just gently on the corner of my desk, and I'm like, "You're on my desk?" She said, "And?" I go, "You know what? Let's get a couple of things out of the way early." She said, "I agree, I'll go first." She said, you drink coffee? I said, yes, I do. She said, I don't. I said, and? She said, there is no and. If you drink coffee and your secretary doesn't, make an assumption who'll get your coffee in the morning in the break room. I said, is there anything else? She said, yeah, one more thing, and I'll put this one in sports language so you'll understand it. I said, and what would that be? She said, technology. It's all through the building. She said, if you go 3 first downs down the hall, you'll come up on a great piece of technology. I said, what? She said, oh, that's right, you're a Steeler fan. You don't know what first downs are. She said, for you, that's 30 yards. You go 30 yards down the hall, there's a gray box. It's got a lid. Lift the lid, put a piece of paper on the glass plate, shut the lid, hit a green button, something shoots out. I said, I know what a copy machine is. She said, good, the number 2's out of the way. We'd spar some more, and she would say something pretty profound. As a matter of fact, I've journaled for over 15 years. People ask me where I get the information, the material. I do a lot of research. I read about 36 books a year. But I've got a journal that I go back to. And when I would write my new book on leadership, one of the things that I would write is what she said to me that day in that setting. As mad and emotional as I was, she would say something I'll never forget. She said, I've been in this company 37 years. I've worked for managers, and I've worked for directors, and I've worked for supervisors. She said, in 37 years, I've never yet worked for one leader. She would teach me the difference between managing things and leading people. She would teach me that having 2 children only made me a parent. It did not make me a father. Most of all, she would teach me those 3 words, how to enjoy the ride. One day she said to me, she said, Steve, let me share this with you. It's not how you start, and it's not how you finish. The true joy of life, it's in the trip. And the people that I see that are successful, the people that grow their businesses, are usually those people that are enjoying the ride. I recently was asked in an interview, what does it take to grow your business? Let me give you my formula. And it's not out of Harvard Business School. It's simple. Grow yourself and grow your people. When you grow yourself and grow your people, you're going to grow your business. But most of all, as I was listening to Eric's comments this morning, I actually looked at a couple of people in the back, and I gave a thumbs up. Because you know what? The best way to grow your business, the best way to perform at a higher level, never lose your passion.